Hey, Flimsy Lunch Tray here, and welcome to our November Q&A. I was actually hoping to do a Q&A like 3-4 weeks ago, but I just kept forgetting. So at last, finally, here we are with a Q&A for the month of November. So I'm going to hop right into the questions. And the first one I'm going to read off is from the YouTube community post, which is Senor Chazdad, who's been around for quite some time on the channel. And his question was, what if I can't think of a question? But that is a question. But I would also respond, use your imagination, for example, I'm just saying as an example, you could ask, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? That's just an example, among other things. I don't know, maybe I don't always give enough to go off of in terms of, what questions are there to ask about Flimsy. So maybe I dive in a little more depth on some of the other questions that have been posted here on the Discord Q&A chat. So the first one would be asked by Void is, what is your favorite in real life ship? Well, actually, Void, at this point in time, it's Massachusetts. And I know you're saying not based off of game stats, but in real life, yes, at this point in time, it's still Massachusetts. I'm not entirely sure. Well, I can't say I'm not entirely sure why that is. It's probably because once I picked up the Massachusetts in game, I dug in to learn all about the history of the Massachusetts, and I thought it was some really cool history with the ship, and the fact that the ship is still existent today, that they did retain the ship and that didn't get sent to the scrapyard. So I hope to go visit the USS Massachusetts one day at Battleship Cove. I've interacted with some of the, I don't know if you call them staff or volunteers on their Facebook page before and learning more about the ship and just discussing with them, and they just seem like a really great bunch of people. But I was really impressed in learning about the ship because normally when you take, you have a new ship and you take out, you have what's called, oh shoot, my brain just completely spaced what it is. Or I'm really trying to think. It's a naval term. I guess I'm just going to have to throw it up in the comments, or just throw it up below in this bottom of the video. Anyhow, normally you have these training missions, or you do some testing. It's basically the crew. Oh shoot, that's actually just really bugging me because I really want to know what the name of that is. Sorry, I'm going to actually look on playlists because I have a couple of videos titled with that, because it's just driving me crazy. I've had a cold, so my brain hasn't been thinking very straight lately. Shakedown cruise. Normally, when you have a new ship that gets launched, you go down out on a shakedown cruise. It helps the crew not be such greenhorns, get their feet wet a little bit. But USS Massachusetts really didn't have that until it went to its first naval engagement, Operation Torch, which was really cool battle against the Jean Bar, which was in dock, and the naval engagement it took there. And then also the part of the Pacific Theater that the USS Massachusetts had now. So there's a whole bunch of history with the ship. I'm sure maybe at some point I'll come across a ship that I feel has a very rich history that I get drawn to more, but I really like the USS Massachusetts. I've went and gone and visited USS Alabama. I think that ship is also pretty cool, but USS Massachusetts is always, I don't know, it's just stood out to me. Maybe it's as a result of the game. And then favorite in real life tank. I am by no means a knowledgeable about tanks. Honestly, if I'm just going with my gut response, I would just say the M1 Abrams. And that's mostly due to the fact when I was a little boy, I was into Lego, so I'd build a Lego. I had a destroyer, missile destroyer, and then I had the USS Kitty Hawk. It was like 3 feet long, And then I also had the M1 Abrams, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just in the movies I'd see that tank all the time, and so I would tell you that's my favorite in real life tank, and also that tank has such a long, still present in service for the army. So I've just always been really impressed with that tank. Saint asks, is there a game in the same vein as World of Warships, World of Tank, Armored Warfare, and War Thunder that you wish existed? Maybe one that covers a niche that the others don't do well or don't even touch. Another game in the same vein as World of Warships, World of Tanks, Armored Warfare, War Thunder. That is a really good question. I think probably like World of Warships when like earlier days of World of Warships when Wargaming actually listened to the community and the community contributors. It was like a two-way street between the community and their community managers and just helping, because in starting a game off, of course, the company was really invested in wanting to respond well to players and having them help develop the game with their feedback helped. But then, that over the last several years, that's just kind of gone away. One of the things I would really like in a naval warfare game is for my AA to actually do something. I'm pretty annoyed by that because I think, if I am in a tier 8 Massachusetts and there is a CV that who flies into his planes, tier 6, tier 8, or just even a ship that has defensive AA. If you're running Rochester or another ship, they should have to pay for their mistake of flying in too much flak. When you see a CV fly in the AA bubble of 5 ships and he can still get his first strike off, like he should be punished and not being able to get that first strike off because he chose poorly in his target selection. There is a warship game, I don't remember what it's called, but I think you can actually manually take control of your AA, and I think that's really cool. So I wish the AA was better for this naval warfare game. I think what I'm getting at is I'd probably prefer a more historical naval warfare game. Ships that, not all these project ships, ships that never existed, for one, and ships that have hidden armor that's not shown. When you're looking at armor layout, there's a lot of ships that have hidden armor plates throughout the ship, which like makes it like, oh, I should be able to citadel it, but there's these hidden armor plates making it not possible. For carriers to actually die from fires, not only 5 seconds, or for sea carriers to actually detonate, since that was a thing. More realistic AA in the game for punishing planes. Not having submarines that pop up in the midst of 6 enemy ships and just shotgun you and dive back underneath. Because submarines would not engage. When there's a naval fleet engagement between the enemy, submarines would just observe off to the side. Maybe before the engagement, they could get some torpedoes off, and then they would just disappear. But the reality is that that was the case. But in World of Warships, it's not. And submarines, for some reason, are unreasonably tanky, as well as CVs. So. But I guess if there's like a niche that one covers more specifically, I would say more historical naval warfare game. And I think that's hard because there's no real competitors to World of Warships. That's one reason why I went to play Armored Warfare rather than World of Tanks, because, it's wargaming, and I kind of wanted to go with a different game developer, game publisher that didn't involve wargaming. So that's why I went to Armored Warfare, not World of Tanks, or one of the reasons of several. So maybe some more like accurate naval historical battles, but Yeah, it's hard when you're dealing with wargaming because with World of Warships, at least, I don't know about World of Tanks, they jump back and forth between, oh, like historically accurate, so we want to replicate the ship of this, or when players get salty about something and say, hey, like this really isn't historically accurate, the ship, and then the community managers, devs turn around and is like, well, this is an arcade game. What do you expect? They just jump to whatever benefits them, so that's super annoying. So this more naval accurate naval warfare game. Trapper asks, how are you enjoying Armored Warfare so far? I'm enjoying it. I think now that I've got more time underneath my belt and I'm figuring the game out a little more. I was originally going to have a video up yesterday of Armored Warfare, but the video I recorded was actually rather crap, and it didn't turn out as well as I wanted to. I was too spacey jumping around, so I couldn't form cohesive thoughts, and I recorded that, and then right after I got done recording it, I started sneezing crazy because I'm currently struggling with a cold. My throat hurts, but it's not terrible. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's nice. I've been focusing mostly on the lower tiers to mid tiers. I've been mostly tier 5 and under. I might use a rental. I used a rental I had for tier 7, the Merkava 2D. Pretty fun tank. But mostly been playing tier 5 and lower because I'm just trying to take my time. I've done PvP once, but that was a mistake. I meant to do operations, so I really didn't know what I was doing because that was my first ever battle. So I'm hoping to get some more player versus player engagements happening soon here. So I'm enjoying it. It's a nice break from World of Warships, especially because the aiming bugs have been really frustrating me lately in World of Warships, or they have been for the last month. What other stories of you looking like you are in high school, college? Totally didn't go back to that, to last Q&A for this. Yeah, so with Trapper's question, I don't remember what came up, but I think I made some sort of comment talking about how I look rather young, and there's been a lot of stories revolved within that. So this is probably something that will give a little bit more history, at least towards that. And that is my mom definitely looks young, so I definitely got the genes from her, like my sister, who's, she's 19 months older than me. Let's say that's like 7-8 years ago. A lot of people would confuse or think my mom and sister were sisters. They didn't think my mom was like that old. So a couple stories I could think off the top of my head was, the university I went to was helping with an international event on campus. We're kind of helping, volunteering, helping international students as they came in to get situated. So we were supplying a lunch for them. So we actually supplied some Chick-fil-A. So I think that was the event at least. So I was helping give some food out. Might have been different food, but anyhow, I was helping with that. And my then at the time, she was still wife, Mrs. Flimsy, was talking with 2 German exchange students, and conversation came up, and then she was like, yes, that's my husband. And they looked at her to like, what? He's like 16. And at the time, I think I was 22, I believe. So I thought that was really funny. They were like, wow, like Mrs. Flimsy, saying her real name, almost like joking that she's a cougar or something, but she's younger than me. So that was pretty funny. Another story would be, I was coming home from work and I decided to swing by Walmart, good old Walmart, to get some ice cream for Mrs. Flimsy. She wasn't feeling too well. So I decided to just surprise her, cheer her up, get some ice cream. So I'm standing in Walmart and I am looking up and down the aisle. So many options for ice cream and trying to figure out what is it Mrs. Flimsy would like most. And so I was taking my time trying to figure that out. And while I'm standing there, there's these 2, I think they were junior high girls, maybe freshmen in high school. It could not have been more than sophomore, but freshmen or something like that in high school. And as I'm standing there, the 2 girls are laughing and giggling. I'm not really paying attention too much. But as I'm trying to find the ice cream, I hear one of the girls, doesn't say it so quietly, but saying something along the lines of to go up to him and ask him out. And so and at that time I was probably 23, I think, something like that. So immediately, like, kind of like this nervous sweat in my palms got a little, what do you say, like nervous, clammy, yeah. And so I lifted up my left hand onto my right shoulder, and I'm trying to flash the fact that, you know, I have a wedding ring, that I am married. But they weren't seeming to notice that, as they're still, I don't know, like 10, 15 feet away or something. So I just panicked and I just picked out an ice cream and just bolted for the self-checkout and immediately came home. So that was rather amusing. So Mrs. Flimsy was appreciative of the ice cream, but that was not a situation I wanted to be in, so I ran. So there's more stories like that. You know, people ask me, even here in Norway. So now I'm 29. And I think I actually had that this summer. Someone was asking, they came up to me and, you know, oh, you're American. Are you studying here? And I was like, no. You know, I'm working. Like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, I graduated college back in 2015. And then the face is like, what? Because they think that I look much younger. If I put glasses on, I probably look, because I'm actually nearsighted. So I'd wear glasses for driving. Then I have some prescription sunglasses. So if I put those on, I think that makes me look a little bit older, you know, whether it's day regular glasses or prescription sunglasses. So I guess it's kind of fun. I could probably totally pull off like looking like a high schooler for Halloween in the US or something. But I guess they do a little Halloween here in Norway. So yeah, I guess there's a couple examples of stories of looking young. February asks, how is Norway? Norway's still doing pretty darn good. Still really enjoying living here. Been traveling more in Norway this year, so that's actually been really nice. When we had COVID, because I haven't had a full normal year yet here in Norway, because most of my time here since March, well, I say March of 2020 to March of 2022 was just COVID. So being able to actually travel and get around the country more has been nice. When we had COVID restrictions, they were like encouraging and asking people not to travel between the different counties, which for my North American audience, counties here are much larger than counties like, you know, and then at least in the Midwest, something like Indiana, I don't know about out west, but counties here are pretty large. So they're encouraging you not to travel in between different counties, just more staying in your local area, your local region. So it was mostly like a lot of outdoor activities, hiking, since, you know, I have within the 40 minutes drive, it's ocean, mountains, rivers, fjords. I mean, I live off of a fjord. The ocean's just a 15-minute drive away. If I walk up the hill behind where Mrs. Flimsy and I live, I can actually see the ocean. So I often look out there to see anchored tankers and stuff. And then just a 40-minute drive into the mountains and rivers and that. So it was really nice and spending that time, just spending a lot of times outdoors. But now this year I've been traveling more. I went up to Gigantus this summer, and then been to Bergen twice now, and that's been nice seeing more Bergen. I've been down to Grimstad, Kristiansand. I need to get back over to Oslo again, which actually kind of leads into your next question. So you've asked, have you been to the Oscarsborg Naval Fortress guarding the Drobak Sound? I actually have not. I know about the Naval Fortress you're talking about. I watched about it in, was it Space Pick Shovel? Did he have a video? Or was it something like the Intel, no, not the Intel report, the operations room, which definitely check out those YouTube channels. And I learned more about that naval fortress. I've been to Oslo. Last time I was in Oslo was actually, well, I've flown through there the airport a couple times, but actually out visiting Oslo has been 2018. Yeah, 2018. I love the airport in Oslo. It's one of my favorite airports I've been through thus far in my limited world travel experience. But I would like to go down there and visit that naval fortress when I go back. There's actually a large gun in just outside of Kristiansand that I want to go to as well. I've driven by there a few times, and even when I was driving, Mrs. Swims and I were driving back through Bergen this summer from being up in Galenge, I saw some smaller guns, coastal guns, and so we thought about stopping, but we didn't end up stopping. Just we kept trucking along. But yeah, I want to go see that at some point. Because I need to get back to Oslo again soon. It's been too long since I've been in Oslo. I'm just 15 minutes away, 13 minutes away from the airport. And so from here, being Stavanger to Oslo is not a long flight. It's pretty easy, and you can get relatively cheap tickets. So one day, I'll hopefully go back there. I want to go up to, oh shoot, is it near Tromsø, where the Tirpitz was destroyed, sunk? I want to go visit there, for sure. Yeah. So I think. I'm gonna throw in a random thing actually to this Q&A. Some of you have been commenting on it, so you've noticed when I do these non-commentary YouTube videos that I like to put classical music behind them. Some of the video or songs I've been putting behind them, the classical pieces, are actually copyright free, so I don't get hit with a copyright claim. Not worried about, don't get hit by a copyright strike, but copyright claim. So it doesn't mean I can't monetize the video, which I'm not that worried about. And you suggested me doing some other musical scores and things, which I could, but I would be hit copyright claims, and I just try to generally avoid copyright claims when possible. But with the meme compilation videos, I usually always get 1 or 2 on those, and that doesn't bother me. So I can't just simply go and do different musical pieces like I'd like to use. Like I'd like to do Firebird Suite by Stravinsky. I would love using, like, if I could use any artist music copyright free, and you say I only get to pick one, hands down immediately would go for Hans Zimmer. Like, hardcore, big fan of his. But one of the main reasons why, because someone was asking, I was saying like, oh, is this like a phase, stuck in classical music? Totally not a phase. Actually, when I was in college, I was a part of 2 choirs, and one was an all-male choir, and it was the bomb. It was literally one of my favorite highlights from college in terms of like favorite class. So I stayed in that all-male choir during my entire time in being at the university. And so we performed some amazing pieces. And just having, you have your baritone, your tenor, your bass, or tenor 1, tenor 2's, and then I was a baritone. I think they almost considered me for tenor once, and I was like, no, like baritone. And then hitting, then we had some bass, you have these really tall guys with these deep voices. Just amazing for some of the pieces we performed. Then I was in the other choir, was both male and female choir. I wasn't as it's kind of more of like their bass choir, and then all the other choirs kind of went up in skill from there. But the all male choir was phenomenal. One of the years, probably, I don't know if many of you would know if I say the name, but Eric Whitaker. He came to our university, and we got to perform several of his pieces. The piece that I performed that he had written, and he's done composition pieces. I think he has done some with Hans Zimmer for Pirates of the Caribbean. His piece called Water Night. So he's kind of famous for some of these virtual choirs he does. Water Night, I think it's Seal Lullaby. I'm trying to think some of the other ones he has that are really good. Anyhow, he's a phenomenal composer, phenomenal conductor. So he came to our university, and with one of the choirs we performed Water Night. We also, it was all the choirs of the university came together for that, and then we also had several high school choirs came together, and so that like kind of gives you goosebumps. But my favorite favorite. And I've actually had this as one of the pieces on one of the non-commentary pieces, was the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the Ode to Joy. We performed that whole piece. We had, there was even another choir that wasn't affiliated with the university. I think it was the city's choir, orchestral choir. They had some really good singers. They came in for that as well, for more of the, oh shoot, how would I phrase that? I feel like I'm forgetting some of my musical terms. But for more of the lines when it's just you have a part in the song where the choir isn't singing, but it's just the male singing and the female. It kind of goes just back forth and overlapping one another. But that was an amazing orchestral piece. I think my favorite performance was probably that performance of the Ode to Joy, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, when we were actually in the rehearsal. So this was, I think it was the night before the performance. So Eric Whitaker is conducting us. We're going through the piece and such. And then we got to the end. I'm pretty sure it's the end of Ode to Joy. And then it's this... man, my English is getting so bad the longer I'm in Norway. So I'll have to think of this after. But it's hand symbols. Is that what I would call it? Hand symbol orchestra. Does that give me some more details to tell you this piece? Yeah, like a clash symbol. So it's like the... yeah, orchestral hand symbols, but it's the ones where you have one in the right hand, one in the left hand, and you just like smash them together. He was that guy. He wasn't paying attention. When you get to the end, it kind of ends on this like clash, and so he was just not paying attention. So we hit that moment, and he didn't do his thing, and then like 2 beats later, so it's like, so imagine the clash was supposed to happen now, then he does it like. It was 2 beats after, and so we all laughed, and Eric Whitaker was like, no, like he laughed, and he's like, okay, don't do that tomorrow, or be on time tomorrow for that. But it was, he's, I don't know, he's a really cool guy. He has a really suave about himself with his character and stuff. So I am really big about orchestral pieces. I like the movie pieces, like Hans Zimmer, like The Last Samurai. There's some amazing pieces in that. And then you have some other classics like Earl Carnig, the Elf King. That's a really cool piece. I got to see live in performance at our university. And just like, if you don't have to just look up Earl Konig, the Elf King Orchestra, and the piano is like, and it has this really, if you know the story of the song, I'm not going to go into that because I'm going to make this Q&A really long, because my nerd's just coming out with classical music pieces and orchestra. But it's really cool story, and then just the storytelling, the story painting of this interaction with the different voices that you hear in the piece, the different characters. So that's actually quite a favorite. But if there's anything you do from this Q&A, Google, or not Google, YouTube, I'll do it with you, so I'll make sure it comes up correctly. So Stravinsky, Firebird, Suite, Scream? Yeah, Stravinsky, Firebird, Scream. There is, the piece it's really quiet, and you get to this point, it's this huge clash of the orchestra getting very dramatic with the piece. And so there's this woman who just screams in the audience, and it's hysterical and makes the whole audience laugh. So yeah, I have some more non-commentary pieces scheduled later on, but it's the one I have is not an orchestral piece. So yeah, so that's to learn more about Flimsy. So if that gives you, Chaz Dad, some questions to ask next time, knowing a little bit more about myself with musical pieces, there you go. So I hope you enjoyed this Q&A today as we're going to wrap this up. So if you appreciate it, let me know, give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have questions or you want to comment on something that I've shared. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.